me get my microphone actually turned on. So there we go, guys. Looks like everything is up and running. I am live here on the Aputure Facebook page. They have given me the keys once again, trusting me with it and trusting me to chat with you guys for a little while today. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And in case you guys don't know who I am Bart Johnson. I am a cinematographer and YouTuber, and like I said, Aputure has asked me to come back and do another live show with you guys. I did one probably about a month ago, and we are actually looking at starting to do these once a month, and who knows, maybe more, time permitting. But today I wanted to get started off with a topic that is the term professional. So we're going to be talking today about what it means to be a video professional, whether you want to be a professional, and sort of what your definition of professional is, because it's kind of a difficult thing to define. So I do have chat pulled up here, so I will be able to see your comments. So I'll check down every once in a while and try and keep pace. But otherwise, I'm just going to plug right on through on my thoughts on this topic of video professional. So I have been doing video for, well, pretty much since middle school. And I'm at the point now where I would definitely consider myself a video professional. But when I had to think about that and what that actually means, if I could pick like a point in time or like really define it, I was having trouble. And so I figured other people might be having some difficulty defining that as well. So to help with the definition, I went to where everybody goes for, spot on definitions, and that is Wikipedia. So let's go see what they had to say. And this is what Wikipedia has for professional. So a professional is a member of a profession or any person who earns their living from a specified professional activity. All right, so we'll stop right there on that one. So they're saying that basically a professional is you are someone who earns your living doing what you do. You make a living with your trade. And yes, I think that's true, but I don't think that's all of it. I think you can be a professional and not have it be your full income. It might not even be any of your income. So let's look into it a little bit more. So let's see what else they've got in there. So the term also describes the standards of education and training that prepare members of the profession with the particular knowledge and skills necessary to perform their specific role within that profession. Okay, so let's boil that down a little bit. So basically what it's saying is it defines that you have the skills, you have the skill set to provide your particular service. In our case, video services, whether you're a director of photography, YouTuber, you can be a professional YouTuber, anything like that, but it means that you have the training and the skills necessary for that job. So yes, I think that's true too, but is that a defining moment, and when is it that you have those skills? So one of the big things that people talk about all the time is, do you go to film school or do you not go to film school? And so if you go to film school, does that mean you're a professional? Like, because I have this piece of paper, my degree from film school, does this mean that when I got this, I walked out and I was a professional? No, I don't consider myself to have been a professional when they handed me this, but it didn't hurt. And that also, I don't think means that if you don't go to film school, if you don't have formal training, that you can't consider yourself a professional. So you see where this gets convoluted and gets kind of confusing. So I'm gonna sort of break this down here. So we have, is being a professional mean making money? Yes, I think it can. I think it can mean that, but I don't think it has to. Is it the education? I definitely do think it is education, but I don't think it refers to necessarily formal education. Now, granted, I had formal education, but now with YouTube and online resources and all that stuff, you can become very skilled at your trade and become a professional without a degree, a specific degree. So that I don't think is necessary. And I think that paradigm has sort of changed in this internet age. And, you know, when you hear the term professional, does that mean that a professional is someone who gets their job right and does it perfect every time? No, I don't think so. I make mistakes. I'm always learning. And I think part of what makes me a professional is the fact that I acknowledge those mistakes and that I want to continue getting better and better and better. So the term professional is really, really tricky. So what I think it is I think it's a personal definition that you give to yourself. I don't think it's necessarily something that, you know, there's one specific thing or like accreditation or anything like that that you hit and then all of a sudden you're a professional. I don't think it means that you know, own your own gear. I don't think it means that you went to film school. I don't think it means that 100% of your income is from doing video related stuff. So I think it is something that you really pinpoint and put on yourself, and you decide it's a mindset of you say, you know what, I am a professional. And for me, I think the moment for me was after I graduated from film school and I went back. I was delivering pizza. It was a job that I did that job for 13 years total. I did it in high school and then beyond. And after a few years of that, I really, really wanted to get back into video. Video was my passion. Video was what I loved, but I never really made any money at it. But I went to learn how to make money with it, you know. And so I started my company, Bart Johnson Productions. And I bought my first camera. And when I got that stuff, something changed inside me, just the way that I thought of myself. And it was, now I am a professional. I felt professional. And part of that, and a big part I think, is the sense of accountability that I had, where I was no longer just doing this for me because I liked it. I was also doing it to provide services to others, to make movies, to make projects for clients and stuff like that. So I think that level of accountability and that change in me is when I just all of a sudden felt like a professional. So of course it may be different for everybody, how you feel about yourself, about your present skills, and all that sort of comes into consideration. And so you need to just sit back and you need to think, do you consider yourself a professional? So go ahead and if you have any questions and stuff for me, pop them down in the comments. I am going to glance down here and check it out. So what is, Moses Wilson, what is the one skill you think people should, starting out, should skip, or that they do skip or don't think about that much, that they really shouldn't? That's a good question. So a skill that people overlook but shouldn't. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. You know, it's there's a lot that goes into video, and I think, okay, I'll put it this way. I don't necessarily think it's a skill, because skills are things that you can learn, you can pick up, you can watch YouTube videos, you can train, you can get better at. But the one thing I really think that you should always try and refresh is your passion and why you're doing what you're doing. So if you're doing video professionally and it's just dragging on you and you don't like what you're doing, sure, you may be making money and you may be doing a bunch of stuff, but if you're not enjoying it, you need to be true to yourself, and you need to make sure that you're giving yourself the creative outlet that made you fall in love with video in the first place. And that's going to make you a lot happier, and then everything else will sort of fall into place from that. So sorry, it's not necessarily a specific skill that people overlook, but it's something that you just need to think about. You need to keep yourself happy, and it's all about your own image of yourself, and then the way that you are then presented and perceived by other people will reflect that. So yeah, professional is a very personal term, at least for me. And so I sort of gave that term to myself and have sort of run with it. And through doing that, you know, I do work on professional projects, but I also do a lot of recreational projects. I shoot for fun and I do all of that. And so all of that sort of encompasses me as an individual and as a professional. So let's see here. We have another comment. In an ever-growing market with more and more inspiring filmmakers and videographers, how do you find your niche and market? And how do you compete with a lot of people both talented and offering lower rates? So that is a really good question. So this is when, if you go the route that I sort of did, you go professional, you start up your own thing, you're obviously looking to get out there into whatever market there is and start making money. But there's always people who have been in the industry a lot longer, are tried and true, and it's really hard to break in. And then there's also a ton of other people trying to break in at the same time. And so what you need to do is, instead of trying to compete with what's out there, try and start collaborating with what's out there, and then sort of finding your spot. And as soon as you find your groove, you'll know it, and things will start rolling. A lot of business is word of mouth. So getting to know the people who are in the industry, jobs will get tossed your way, your name will be passed around, and that will really boost things for you. So that's what I did. It wasn't long ago, just a few years ago, that I was working just as a PA on a lot of television shows that came to the DC area here. And so while I was assisting and running and grabbing stuff, and sometimes I was assisting the camera operator, the DP, because I knew him personally. I knew that I was capable of doing much more than I was, but it was all about just getting myself in there and getting people to know my name. And then slowly I started getting offered to shoot things, and so then I moved and progressed my way up there, and now I've pretty much become known that I'm a talented cinematographer, and so it takes time, but now, through the internet and through just shaking hands and being on sets and being on projects, my name is in the back of a lot of people's minds when they think, I need a project done, who do I call? So that's the best thing you can do, is just get yourself out there, just shotgun approach, just get your name and your work everywhere that you possibly can. So let's see here. What equipment do you see getting requested the most? Red has built-in marketing, but Arri has a long standard record as a reliable brand. What's getting more jobs? So that's interesting. I don't own a Red. I don't own an Arri. The most expensive camera that I personally own is the Blackmagic Ursa. And professionally, instead of advertising the equipment that I use, what I end up doing more is I just advertise my services. I say, take a look at some of my previous work. This is how it looks. Is this what you want yours to look like? And then from there, I basically tell them, this is how I did it. This is what I did it with. And so basically, if they've seen my final paintings, they don't care what kind of paintbrush I'm using, as long as they're getting the same quality as before. But then again, there are companies out there who think they're video savvy and will request specific equipment. And in that case, my suggestion is get them to have a higher budget and rent. So that's just personally what I do. I mean, I have the Ursa Mini 4.6, but to be honest, most of my professional work I'm getting done with the trusty GH5 that I'm shooting on right now. So don't get swept up in the gear. Just focus more on yourself, on your work, and on your professionalism, and just coming across as being a professional person and says, all right, you're purchasing something from me, I'm capable of it, here's what I'm going to do for you, and here's how I'm going to do it. So, all right. So, Devin's in here. Sorry I missed your comment there, Devin. Yes, the stream is looking sharp, and that would be great thanks to Mr. Devin Hansen for helping me with all of the tech stuff, getting the stream all set up and whatnot. So there we go. We've touched a little bit on what being a professional is, or at least what it is to me. So I want to hear from you guys, whether you consider yourself a professional, when did you consider yourself a professional, and sort of what aspects make you consider yourself to be a professional. And if you're not a professional, is it something that you would like to be considered a professional? Maybe you're just a hobbyist. Maybe you already have a full-time job and don't think you have time to go full-time into video. Well, you don't have to. I had a full-time job when I started considering myself a video professional as well. And so I sort of had to split my time between the two, and then gradually that other job sort of faded into the background as my video opportunities afforded me, more and more ability to not have to work at the other job so much. And then it sort of transitioned to this. So in terms of it being, fully, financially viable, it probably won't be an overnight thing. It won't be I quit, I start, and my cash flow is uninterrupted. You may have a transition period, and it may be a few years. I mean, mine was a few years before I was in a position where I'm holding a camera every day, and that's what I do. So, yeah. So let's see here. Nathan Rice is asking, are you doing a lot of 4K work or 1080 deliverables? So these days, for the work that I do, almost everything I am delivering in 1080, but almost everything I am shooting in 4K. And that's just because I like the benefits of 4K. I won't get into all the benefits of it, but quality increase when you scale it down, different stuff for VFX, got more pixels there, and then of course resizing and reframing and so forth. But I do find that 1080 is what is mostly delivered these days. I do a lot of content for companies that ends up going either on the web, like short promo pieces, or a lot of stuff that ends up being for internal use, and they just have no need for 4K. So it depends on where you are and what type of projects you're doing. If you're more out in the LA area and you're working on commercials or you're working on, films and stuff like that, then they may be more common to have higher resolution stuff. But in the, Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area where I am, it's a lot of corporate work, and 4K, that word doesn't mean a whole lot to them. So like I said, that's where they trust me as a professional to paint the picture of what their final product is going to be, and then they don't ask me questions about the tools that I use to get there, because they trust that I am a professional, and they've seen my work, and they've seen, that it doesn't matter the size or shape of the camera or any of that stuff, I'm going to get it done and get them what they need. And that's part of that professional attitude. That, like I said, that level of accountability that sort of triggered in me when I started my company. I now had people to answer to, people counting on me, and so that adds a different dynamic to it. But it's a good thing. It keeps you honest, it keeps you sharp, and it keeps you innovating. So. So Moses, you talk about always considering yourself as a person with an evolving skill set. You don't brand yourself as a professional, but someone who's willing to do what's necessary to get the best results. And like I said, that, to me, I would call you a professional for having that attitude. But you have not personally defined yourself as a professional, and that's okay, because, despite what Mr. Wikipedia says here, telling us that there is a hard definition for what a professional is, I don't think there is. I think it's very subjective, and it's just something that you're gonna brand yourself as a professional, and then you're gonna own it. And what is somebody gonna tell you that you're not? Like, no, it's just I am, and here it is. So. What's the best way to manage clients' archives? Do you charge them for it? That's a good question. A little bit more specific, again, I can only answer for what I personally do. I have large Drobo storage arrays, actually just under a desk right over here, and I've got terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of space. And so I do try and save as much of my clients' content as possible on here. But also with my clients, when I deliver the final product to them, I also give them a drive with all of that footage on there. And I tell them that I'll hold their stuff on my servers for about a year. So if it does get to the point where I'm getting kind of full, I'll clear some of their stuff out. I don't charge them to keep it on there. But then if something needs to be redone, I can get the drive and all the original contents from them and hopefully just go back and do revisions or whatever we want to do. So I hope that helps. RJ Ortiz, full-time jobber here, doing a lot of work with my Ursa Mini Pro. Change to being a professional came when I knew I could take a project from inception to deliverable without doubt in my abilities. That is a great way to say it. So without doubt in your abilities, being able to do the whole thing. And that's a mindset thing too. See, a lot of people, I think they peg themselves not as professionals because they don't think that their skills are there. But at what point do you say that your skills are there? And for you, you've been able to define it as, you know, okay, I'm comfortable with every step of this process and I can do it. And so I would encourage people, you know, don't be afraid that you don't have the skills, because the way to build skills is to go out there and do it. And the way to do more of it is to start taking on professional work. Not every single person who's out there and is a professional has the exact same skill set. You know, there's not, like I said, there's not a point where you hit and it's like, I know everything that I need to know to do this, boom. So, you know, you may need to sit there and get to that point where you're like, I have the skills, I feel comfortable enough to start dipping my toes into this, and then you'll just start taking off from there. I mean, the amount of stuff that I have learned in probably like the past 5 years doing my work professionally is insane. And I'll look at some of my early professional work and kind of hang my head because my stuff now is so much better, but that's okay. I was still a professional then. I was just a younger, newer, budding professional, and that's fine. You know, you go and check stuff out. Like, all companies out there are not perfect, and they're not at the same skill level and all that. So that's okay. You shouldn't be afraid of that. So yeah. Okay. So that's all I've got right now for the questions. Make sure I did not miss anything here. All right. Cool. Oh, Moses says, I never look at earlier work. I don't even look at things from a month ago. Yeah, sometimes I would prefer not to, because sometimes it is a little embarrassing, especially the farther and farther back you go. Like, even with my YouTube videos, if I look at some of my first ones, oh my goodness. But that was what I was capable of doing at that time. And so that's the way it went. Every once in a while, my college thesis film, which really isn't very good, gets a copy sold on Amazon. And I'm just like, oh boy, somebody's going to get that and watch it and not get what they expected. But yeah. So I think I'm going to start wrapping this guy up and winding it down here. So if you guys have any further questions for me, you know, on this topic of being a professional, what it means, and whether you consider yourself a professional, please go ahead and pop them in here, and I'll answer any that come in the next few minutes here. And then continue to comment on this video in Facebook. You know, keep the discussion going of what you consider to be professional and not, and what makes a professional, and whether you are one or not. Because only you can really answer that, I feel. And so before I cut out of here and before we do that, I do want to shamelessly plug myself and my channels. Like I said, I am Bart Johnson, cinematographer, and I'm on YouTube. Always trying to grow my YouTube, where I share plenty of tips and tricks and content. And actually, I'm going to be hosting the playback of this video on there, and some other live shows will be going on there as well. So it's Bart Johnson Productions on YouTube. Please go check it out. I'm also on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. All of them are under Bart Johnson Productions. So that'll be my shameless plug out there for you guys to come check me out, and then we can continue to chat on different topics in the future. And hopefully I can share my knowledge and content with you guys. So it looks like we've got a few last things coming in. Nathan Rice, do you charge extra for giving the customers the raw files? I do not. So I bill that in. I have different prices for just delivering a final file electronically, meaning just an export of the video, usually delivered to them via Dropbox or something like that. I have one price for that, and then I have another price for everything on a drive with all of the raw footage and all that. And basically that price is just the cost of the drive. So I don't charge them any extra for it. I just make sure that I'm not out the money for the physical drive. That's all that I personally do. I may be too honest with it, but hey, that's how I like to do business. So, and why gear do you use? Oh, it must be what gear. There we go, Eric. What gear do you use for various projects? So I could go into a whole rant about the gear that I have and what I use for what, but I'm not going to do it on this particular stream because it's a little bit off topic. But I will tell you what cameras that I use and why I chose those cameras and what I use them for is actually the exact topic of the live stream that I will be doing on my YouTube channel tomorrow on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So another little shameless plug, but if you want to hear all about that, I will be discussing that at length tomorrow. So please find me on YouTube, Bart Johnson Productions, and subscribe and turn on those notifications, and we can chat about that tomorrow. Nathan Rice, customers must love that. Yes, you know what? I don't know if it's that they love it. It's just that they don't know that I'm not charging them. You know what I mean? It's the lack of them getting upset that makes me happy. You know, when people look at an itemized bill list and they're being nickeled and dimed on every single thing, you know, if I can avoid that for my customers, then they're happy. It's one of those things where, you know, if they don't say anything, then I'm doing something right, kind of deal. And very last question that I'll take here is how do I like the Mini 20s? He's referring to the Aputure Mini 20s, the LED lights that I've been testing. I like them very, very much. I actually have two of them lighting me right now. So this little light on the back of the chair and my hair light and everything is actually a Mini 20. So I'll be talking about those on my YouTube in the future. But anyway, guys, I think I have exhausted my thoughts on the topic of whether you're a professional or not and transitioning from hobby to professional work or status. And so I am going to go ahead and bring this to a close. I appreciate all of you guys who took your time to sit here and join me live. Like I said, Aputure has invited me back to do this, and we are looking at making this a monthly thing. So look for me again next month with a brand new topic for a brand new live chat. But if you can't wait a month and you just absolutely want to see more of me and hear me talk, please go find me on YouTube at Bart Johnson Productions, and I have plenty of stuff going on there. So big thanks to Aputure for getting this set up. Big thanks to you guys for joining and participating, and I really look forward to doing many more live streams on here and chatting with you guys and just sharing filmmaking with everybody. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you on the next one.